So I'm really excited at the idea of being able to talk to you about how the English department is shifting and changing. I would say in the last probably 5 years, we've really started to look at some of the classical literature that we've always taught, that I read in high school, some of which my mother read in high school. And though we see it as valuable and aren't necessarily getting rid of what we see as the sort of core classics of literature, we really wanted to expand some of the more modern texts to reflect a more modern society and, more importantly, a more diverse community. We see the value absolutely in teaching To Kill a Mockingbird, teaching Great Gatsby, teaching Catcher in the Rye, teaching Oscar Wilde and Shakespeare. These are cultural touch points that every student should have when they go off to university. There's a cultural literacy that those texts provide that are endlessly valuable, I think, in life. However, outside of that, we wanted to be able to see how modern literature could start to reflect a more diverse group. So what we realized is that many of our texts really only speak to a very limited lifestyle, whether that is educated, often Caucasian, affluent lifestyle, and we wanted to get other voices in there. So one of the first things we did, particularly when we started to see that we wanted to replace Huck Finn with something that could better reflect and better embrace our African American students, we looked at Ta-Nehisi Coates. Ta-Nehisi Coates wrote an amazing essay, book of essays called Between the World and Me, which is a letter to his young African American son about what does it mean to be Black in America. And we got to team that up with some of the amazing things going on in the civil rights movement, particularly locally, and with Cornel West and James Baldwin, these amazing writers, and really giving a voice to what does it mean to be Black in America today. Whether or not you are a student of color in my classroom, I hope that you would learn through this book what it might mean to be Black in America, how that might be different from your own experience, right? We want these modern texts, these different voices, to create this empathy, to create these cultural touch points for students. And if you are a student of color or a marginalized group in my classroom, I want to hear voices that reflect maybe your ideology, right? How amazing is it when you can hear somebody talk about your culture in a way that's genuine and authentic? So we brought in a Latinx author, Acevedo. We have a Japanese author, Banana Yoshimoto. We're bringing in some Trevor Noah. We have a Campbell alum, Nina LaCour, who wrote a wonderful book about growing up in this community, right? This book is based basically, to some extent at least, on Camp Alindo High School. And yet it's still an LGBTQ book that deals about loss and the struggles of being in high school, which many of our kids definitely go through. So this idea of being able to give them that cultural literacy, to give them that foundation, to go off to college and thrive, which is what our kids do, but also to give them this ability to hear different voices, to find something that they're passionate about. Every student should leave high school with at least one book that they loved. Right? It doesn't matter what that book is. It can be Shakespeare if you're that kid. It can be John Krakauer talking about Everest if you're that kid. But there should be something for you. And I hope that every kid leaving my class has at least one.